is Ed, and I will call the meeting to order if you'd like.
Is everyone coming that's coming? All right, let me just start the broadcast and let me start recording.
Okay, you let me know when I can go.
It's all yours, sir.
Okay, I'd like to officially call this meeting to order. This is the virtual financial town meeting for the town of Coventry. And at this time, I would like to call on Councilman LeBlanc to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman. At this time, I'd like to go over the ground rules for the virtual town meeting. So to begin with, all questions will be directed through the moderator, and I am the moderator. My name is Ed Inman, for those of you that don't know me. All questions must be related to budget issues. There will be a time limit of 3 minutes per registered voters. Individuals may speak again if all other people have had an opportunity to speak. All must maintain the decorum of the online discussion. So let's please maintain the decorum. There will be no voting on the budget this evening, and that the voting will take place 2 days from today on January 21st, 2021. There will be 5 polling places open. At this time, I would like to call on the town manager to do his presentation. Please proceed.
Thank you. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is our third attempt at this. And let me start by welcoming everybody, all the citizens and taxpayers. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting. My name is Ed Wozika, and I'm going to just lead you through this budget. I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I will go through it all. This is posted online. It's available, and all of the numbers are out there. So first things first will be the actual appropriations that are necessary for each of the departments, each of the sections. First one is going to be section 1. This is the actual resolution that the council passed and moved forward to the residents. And that $29,535,215 be appropriated from tax revenue, federal and state aid, and other revenues for the operation of the municipal government. That $48,278,589 be appropriated from tax revenue for the operation of the school department, with $48,278,589 being the maintenance of effort. These funds shall supplement state aid to the education grants and other school revenues to provide an operating budget of $74,357,820. That $5,190,069 in tax revenues, interest, earnings, and other state aid be appropriated for the retirement of principal and interest on outstanding bonded indebtedness. And finally, that $200,000 be appropriated for capital improvements. Like I said, this is simply the resolution that was passed. What does this mean over our zero increase budget that was first recommended in June? Well, what this is a $1.2 million increase in school funding and a $225,000 increase in municipal funding. That municipal funding would be used to bring back a finance clerk in the assessor's office, bring back a finance clerk out of the collector's office, and split that on a part-time with human resources. So this one will actually do a couple of two duties, but it's one salary. And this was a position we formerly had and was eliminated a while ago. We would also be bringing back an associate planner. We at one point had an associate and an assistant planner. We have an associate now. I bring this one back as another associate to lessen some of the workload that goes on in planning. Planning has a lot of new projects that are coming up, a lot of projects in the work and process, and they're just falling behind because of the workload they have. And finally, I'm also looking to a new position, the only new position here, would be for an economic development specialist. Something this town is in dire need of to help to bring us up into the 21st century. We need an economic development person to go out there, go after these companies, try to bring some more of this commercial and industrial into the town, as opposed to just residential development going on. Economic development will allow the tax rate to actually, and hopefully in some cases, begin to decrease on the municipal side. This 225 also includes a raise for all non-union employees who have not received a raise in over 3 years. What does it mean? What does this mean on our tax rate and the levy increase? The proposed increase of $1.425 million amounts to a 1.97% proposed levy increase for this FY 2021 budget. We're currently, the current tax rate right now with the zero budget and the equalized tax rate, because this was a reval year, is $18.97 for residential, $22.87 for commercial, $18.75 for motor vehicle, and $18.97 for tangible. This 197 would cause an increase of approximately, until we lock in and finalize, we're not going to have a penny or two may move up or down, but it would cause an increase of the residential to $19.40, or a 43-cent a thousand increase. The commercial side would be $23.38, and that's a 51-cent a thousand increase on commercial. The motor vehicle remains the same because it's a locked-in rate. Intangible, which is tied to residential, would be the $19.40 as well. So another 43-cent increase on that. This is the budget that was proposed back in June. It's the same numbers, line items. The only line items that will be affected on this budget, if it's passed, when it's passed, would be in the employee areas. So none of the line items, and the full budget is posted online, so you can go and look at all of that. But this is the zero increase that we proposed in June. Here's what I'm proposing now with the supplemental budget what we're looking at. These are all of the positions, the non-union positions, their current rates, and their proposed increases in those salaries. And that comes up to a total of about $87,000 for that increase across the board. You'll also see below it the economic development person, and that's a total cost of about $93,000. The finance clerk, those are at about $70,000, and the associate planner is about $76,000, $77,000. That comes out to a grand total of over $310,000. I'm not asking for all of that because we're only going to be filling these positions for 5 months for what's left in this fiscal year. What it will mean is next fiscal year, we'll need to add in about $180,000 to cover the additional 7 months of the salary. But I reduced it down. I didn't think it was fair to be looking for money that they're obviously not going to be using this year. So that's where that is. This right here, and again, it's all online. These are the breakdown by your different line items or your departments, the totals for each of those departments. And again, these aside from the salary increases, they're no different from what was posed in June. $109 million for the total budget. We have a capital improvement program that was put in, and I'm going to scroll through these again. This was something that was there, that was done in June. All these numbers have been out there since that time. These are all for the 5-year plan on what each department was looking for those who put in. If I scroll down to my last line for municipal, you'll see that for this year, there was a request for $3.169 million in capital improvement costs, capital improvement programs. And then the cost for the upcoming years as well that they're predicting now. School department as well put in their capital request, and that amounted to $365,000 this year, with subsequent years going higher, in 1 year, in fact, going back down to $430,000. So that's the totals on that. After the school makes their presentation, we'll be open to any kind of questions on any of this and that anyone has. Yes.
Thank you, Ed. At this time, I'd like to call on the superintendent to do his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Inman. Ed, I have the ability to share my screen.
You do, sir.
All right, bear with me, please. All right. I know the suspense is killing people here, so we have a very brief presentation. Before I get started, I just want to sincerely thank the council, council president, Dr. Dixon, the council members, our school committee, Mr. Wazika, Ms. Mandrelli, our director of finance, and all those that have contributed to the budget. I truly believe that we have the leadership in this community, elected officials, and the leadership to tackle difficult situations, and it gives me a lot of hope that we will actually be able to tackle and to address situations that have been extremely difficult over the last several years, but all working for the common good, a Coventry that we can all be proud of. So again, I just want to say thank you very much. And I'm starting off with my last slide. All right, so here is our budget request summary. All right. I'm humoring myself here. This is okay. So we're asking for 1.2 million, or a total of $448,278,000. This equates to a 1% increase in our school operating budget of $975,000. It's also a 3.7% decrease in our state education aid of $897,000. And while Mr. Wazika had indicated what we would request, there is no money in this budget for capital for the schools. We prepared this budget, again, and we want to preserve what we currently have, our educational system. We want to ensure the safety measures have been put in place for a COVID-19 response. And also, this budget's about providing foundational support for next year's FY22 budget and beyond. I think it's important for the community to note there was a lot of challenges this year as there have been in the past. I know the sentiment is that sports and activities, many programs are always on the table. It's been unfortunate, it's challenging for this community, but this budget here does include the return of sports clubs that are deemed appropriate to run in FY21. And the reason we say that is because based on the Department of Health, what in the regulations and guidance, we've identified the sports and activities that we think we can run successfully. So a question that comes up constantly is, are there FY 2020 savings? And there have been savings, approximately 1.2 million. The major areas were in utility consumption, the cost of our substitutes, we did not run spring athletics last year. Class covers, that's when teachers are asked to cover additional course classes. That did not take place last spring. Reduction in supplies. We did not replace our physical plant vehicles that we desperately need. We did have significant savings in our transportation last year and a variety of other purchase services that weren't necessary. Our plan is to utilize those savings, all those savings, to respond to our COVID-19 safety measures, which obviously are above and beyond any normal operating costs. All of our documents are on our homepage or website under latest news. You can find our budget, this presentation, and other information pertaining to FY 2021. So that is our presentation. Again, we've presented many times. Again, lastly, I just want to thank the council, the school committee, for truly working together to come up with this budget.
Thank you. At this time, it's appropriate to open it up for public comment. So as Mr. Wazika, do we have anybody in the queue that would like to have an opportunity to speak at this time?
I actually need Mr. Levis to cancel his screen share.
Sure. Mr. Levis, if you
And,
would kindly do that. There we go.
And
Please proceed.
let me go to attendees. We have 86 people in attendance. If anyone would like to ask any questions, comments, concerns from the public in reference to the budget, please raise your hand and I will bring you into the meeting. If anyone in the audience would like to make a comment, concern, question,
This
please raise
would
your
be the
hand.
appropriate time.
This would be
to
the appropriate time. Please raise your hand so I can bring you in.
If we don't have anybody in queue, I know that there were members on the council that expressed to me, or at least a leadership person expressed to me that they'd like to speak. Would you like to do that, have that opportunity now? Or would you like to wait a minute?
I'd like to wait a minute to see if any attendees would like to ask us questions.
Sure. So do we have any attendees, anybody that is listening out there in Zoom land or wherever you may be, would you like the opportunity to speak now? I think the appropriate thing is, would everybody agree I'll give them a minute?
Yes.
We have one.
Okay. So would we proceed with that individual, please? They would have a 3-minute time limit, and if they need more, extend the courtesy. And who is the individual?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed. Please tell
My
us your
name's-
name. Yep, go ahead.
Yep, my name is Michelle Cohen, Coen, 2 Driftwood Drive.
Thank you.
I'm calling because I appreciate everything that all parties have put into working on this budget for the 3rd time. I have voted each time to approve the budget. Obviously not the first time I rejected that, because I do feel like we do need funding to help support our town, both the school side as well as the town side. But my concern is there are a lot of people out there on Facebook land and everywhere else that are kind of naysayers and are just opposed to approving this budget. So my question is, if we do reject this budget, which I am in favor of approving, because I think a 1.97% is kind of the middle of the road and will give the new council a chance to work with the budget. But what would happen for those people out there that are just saying, you know what, we're rejecting, we're not going to give any more funds, and let them figure out what they need to figure out? I know we've talked about this at other meetings. I've been at some of these other meetings, but can we just kind of reiterate what that will look like?
Sure. Who would like to take that question on the board? Who handled it in the past in the event that this is rejected?
Mrs. Dixon, would you like me to handle that?
Okay.
I think would be appropriate.
Okay, please proceed, Ed.
At this point, if this budget is rejected, I don't feel as though we would have time to, or even any idea of where to go with another proposal to try and get it passed. On top of the funds that we expend every time we do one of these votes, it's quite costly to bring all the people in for all of the voting, all of the processing. If we haven't succeeded in 3 attempts, I don't believe there would be any desire to attempt a 4th time at this. Again, by the time we be able to get to it, we're down to probably 3 months left on the budget. So we would continue with a 0 increase budget. There will be the ramifications of that are the issues that we've spoken about in the past. In my case, on the municipal side, it's going to mean no employees to help get the work done. It's going to mean no raise. But it's also, my budget was predicated on a 0 increase. So the rest of the functions will go on and continue. We can get it done. School side is going to have a much more difficult time if this is rejected. And they really need to get this passed for them because this is not going to do well if they don't get this additional funding that they need. So it's going to be ugly if it happens, if it is rejected.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like the baseball rule. Okay, 3 strikes. Is
And
there
just
any other?
I just have a quick follow-up. And if it does pass, and we're talking about $100 or so of an increase, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
For an average home
Yes.
at $300,000 range.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
I appreciate it.
Okay, is there any other individual in the queue that's of the public that would like to have the opportunity to speak at this time? Ed, do you see anybody?
There is no one.
There is no one. Dr. Dixon, did you want me to turn it over to you, or would you like me to go through council members?
We just had a hand go up.
Okay, please proceed with that individual, and then I can move on to the others.
Mr. Mayor, please state your full name, spell your last name, and give your address for the record, sir.
Bradford Mayer, Mayer, 360 Hope Furnace Road. I have a question for the superintendent and/or Mr. Murray. If this budget does not pass, could that possibly have a negative impact on the state's thinking towards the school building project and the amount of their reimbursement?
Okay, I will throw that over to the superintendent if he heard the question. Did you hear that okay?
Yes, I think Mr. Murray actually addressed that with Mr. Conti at our last building committee meeting, school building committee meeting, and I'm sure he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but the state is watching because we have to meet that maintenance of component, which I believe is significant next year. It has to be part of our operations. And so if the budget does not pass, we're going to have to fund operations, teachers in front of students, the basics prior to making sure that we put money towards that maintenance. And the other part of that is it's any building housing aid that was going to go to the town for debt service will be taken away from the town and given to the school department. So it's a double-edged sword. It's going to impact the school department, could impact us moving forward with any building project, but it's also going to impact the town. They're going to have to make up that revenue. And I think that's something important for the taxpayer. So I don't know, Mr. Murray, if you want to.
Luke, if you'd
Add to
like to
what I
jump
said.
in, Luke, if you'd like to jump in, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I think the superintendent covered it pretty well. I mean, ultimately, I've said it over and over again, if this budget doesn't pass, it's just going to compound what's already a structural debt. So going into next year, as the superintendent said, we're going to have to fund operations. And I've already spoken to RIDE School Building Authority, and they have serious concerns about our necessity of school construction being at risk because of that required maintenance through the state will not get properly funded. So if that is indeed the case, we risk the whole effort on the other side, which is the school building project that we're currently running, including any other additional monies that may be reimbursable from the state. So it definitely has a ripple effect.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And I thank everyone for their time and input and work on the budget. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Ed, do we have anybody else in queue that would like the opportunity to speak?
We do not, sir. This is it.
This is it. Anybody else in the public like to speak? Okay, any public official, school committee member, council member, and I will, Dr. Dixon, because you are the president of the council, I'll obviously go to you last so you get back clean up. If we're staying with a baseball analogy. Is there anybody else that would like that opportunity to speak at this time? I'm looking on my board. You can speak up now. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to call on Dr. Dixon, our council president.
Thank you. I'm asking for your support for the 2021 Coventry Town budget. And when I go to the referendum, I will vote to approve this budget. This is our third attempt to approve a budget. The first for level funding was defeated. The second for a 4% increase was defeated. Voters should not consider that this is an attempt to go between 0 and 4%. This budget is an honest attempt to realistically consider needs and balance that against the ability to pay. Your council has a fiduciary responsibility to the town and the public schools to ensure that each entity has the funds it needs to effectively function. Each entity needs a budget to provide services, and we know that services cost money. As a council, we voted for a budget that we believe is fair, just, and appropriate. As a council member and president, I actually do get daily emails and calls, and I listen. Voters are quite vocal about their views and their needs. Voters want an efficient and effective municipal government, and they deserve it. Voters want a robust, solid educational system that will educate its young population to be successful in whatever career pathways they choose. Voters want a school system that produces results, and they deserve it. When an effective municipal and public school system are combined, we know that a great town will bring in people, real estate values will increase, and our young people will stay in our school system. Coventry will be a town where people will want to work, live, shop, eat in local restaurants. Coventry will be a town where people will want to take advantage of its recreational activities, its libraries, its public work services, its social services, and its schools. It is a town where people will want to enjoy the best a community can offer. As Coventry becomes better, we will have a community filled with young and old who want to participate in government by running for office, participating on boards and commissions, and by attending meetings such as this. The only way that voters can get a better town and school is to vote to support the budget, volunteer on boards and commissions, provide comments at public meetings, and participate in the referendum. Please stand up for a vision of our town that meets our needs for the future health of our community. I'll see you at the polls.
Thank you. So that concludes the speaking part of this program. And at this time, I'm going to be closing the meeting with a gentle reminder that the vote is 2 days from today, January 21st. So tomorrow you can watch the inauguration, and then the next day you can do your second civic duty and get out and vote. At this time, I close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Inman.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you.